I know Monte does a lot of things proactively, and I'm not familiar with other home builders, but I have been with Monte because of being involved with this company for off and on for about 4 years. But I'd like for you to tell our listeners some of the things that Monte does that are proactive and make him different from some of the other builders that you know of.
Well, Monte, I think, is definitely someone that has his finger on the pulse of what's going on, and certainly in the Atlanta market, but nationally as well. You know, we all know that things are a little tough now, economically, especially in the housing market in the country, and certainly here in Atlanta. And he does, I think, a really good job of keeping on top of that. Nobody can predict the future. We all have realized that in hindsight. But he's never one to just sit still. He's always looking at new things, trying to figure out what we can do to change as the market changes, and make sure we're continuing to serve our existing homeowners, and that we have the products that people are looking for in and around Atlanta, now and in the future. So I think I mentioned to you before, he does not sit still. Mm-hmm. He's constantly in motion and is always looking for the next great thing to do, and never one to be complacent. It's definitely a good place to be, and there's always an energy in our office and in our communities that I hope our homeowners and buyers feel as well. It's a neat feeling and a great place to be. So
that's great. One of the things I wanted you to talk about a little bit, and we may have to stop and take a break shortly, but I know that there's a lot of fear involved in the community, not just this community, but nationally right now, about home buying. And I know we're in a dip of a curve, the cyclical curve we always go through, and I know that people are having to do a lot of things differently. So let's talk about the market, and is it, in fact, still a good time to buy a home?
I definitely say it's a good time to buy, and I know that there's a lot of rhetoric out there about that, and people are like, oh, well, of course builders are going to say that because they're trying to move inventory. But the reality is, if you look at the facts, there is an abundance of inventory in Atlanta and certainly countrywide, and there's so many choices out there now, which can be a little daunting too. There's a lot to choose from, but because there's a lot to choose from, you have a lot to choose from. I mean, it's it's a pretty obvious situation, and builders are incentivized to move the homes that we have, so that we can look forward to the future and building new product. So. There is a lot of fear out there, but I think there's a lot of things that I can share with you that will hopefully dispel some of those fears.
Good. Now, on that note, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Bright Spot. Don't go away. Welcome back to Bright Spot. Thanks for joining us again today. We're talking with Dina Gundersen. She is the marketing director for Monte Hewett Homes, and we were just beginning to discuss why it's a good time to buy a home today in lieu of all the fear that is out there about home owning and all of the factors about money. It is still a good time to buy a home, and Dina's going to tell us a lot of the reasons why it's a good time.
Well, and I think specifically it's a good time to buy a home in Atlanta, where there is a considerable amount of fear, around the nation, but Atlanta's weathering the storm pretty well, and I think a lot of us are pretty glad we don't live in California, where
really?
Home prices are still astronomically ridiculous, and Atlanta is still a growing city, and I was looking up some facts in preparation for the show, and I was reading something that I still thought was pretty interesting, was that the population in our region is still increasing by 150,000 people every year. So all of those people have to live somewhere, and there's so much relocation still going on around Atlanta. There's so many new companies that are opening, their doors here and expanding, even in today's economy. I think that's a bright spot, honestly, in, kind of looking in Atlanta. And I had looked at an article that came out in Forbes at the end of August, and it said that Forbes had examined 40 of the largest metropolitan areas in Atlanta, and it said the Atlanta area comes in number 10 it's actually 9 on its list of the best places to buy. And it's also on 9 in the group of 10 of the lucky cities that they think they're predicting to experience a long-term recovery sooner than than a lot of other cities. So that's a pretty positive thing, and something I definitely, we're hanging our hat on, and certainly hoping comes to fruition. And one of the biggest things is that while there is a lot of choices out there for home buying now, that's not always going to be the case. And I know that pretty much every builder throughout Atlanta has significantly slowed down their construction timelines, and as far as starting and building new homes. So, when this inventory is absorbed in the market, there's going to be a big hole, and very few builders are building homes on spec anymore, and it just doesn't make sense. So when this inventory is gone, there won't be very many homes that are readily available for the people that are relocating and need a home now. So
one of the things that you had shown me was the Forbes comment about next year's projections. I want you to tell our audience what that percentage looks like for growth and home sales. I think it was 32.5% for single-family homes.
The article came out on August 25th, and it says that Atlanta's continued job growth is at a steady rate, and it promises to end our housing slump here. And their quote is saying that next year's home prices are expected to jump by 32% for single-family homes, and multifamily homes are expected to rise as much as 18%. So I was shocked by that, to be honest. But I think that speaks volumes for the positive turnaround that's hopefully coming soon. Certainly, selfishly from a builder's perspective, but I think creates that much more urgency in making sure the buying public knows that you can get a great deal on a home now, not just from us, but from many builders around Atlanta. And there's certain things that I would recommend to look for, and price is not the only thing that you need to be looking at. Value is really important, especially in today's economy, and it's something that you need to consider very highly when you're looking at any new home.
Well, that could be a little bit vague for some people, so let's give them a little bit more information about what value means compared to price.
Well, there's a really big difference between price and value, and a home that's deeply discounted, may not always be the best long-term value. The things that you need to look at when you're looking at a new home, the most important thing is the location. Is it where you want to live? I think there's some people out there that are buying homes just because of a deeply discounted price, but it's not really where they want to be. You know what I mean? You have to think much longer term than this house is is deeply discounted, and it's a great buy. But in 6 months from now, are you going to be happy living there? It's something you really have to consider. Is it close to your to where you work? Is it close to a major highway? Is it close to recreation? One of the things that I found from living in Smyrna myself, having grown up in Sandy Springs, I love it here in Sandy Springs, but what's great from where we live now is the amount of parks that are around us. Cobb County has a great park system, and, we've been really using that to our advantage. And so location is huge, and that's something you really have to consider, and something that the person you may resell your home to later will be considering as something that provides value. Another thing is the school district. Where is that home, and what school district is it in? Even regardless of whether you yourself may or may not have children, it's something that's at the top of buyers' lists when they're looking at a home. Another thing, which I think is the most important, is quality. Is the home quality built? Do you know the reputation of the builder that you are, whose home you're looking at? Have they been around? Visit other neighborhoods that they've built in, talk to existing home buyers.
Are they certified builders?
Are they certified professional home builders? Mm-hmm. CPHB is a great program through the local HBA where you have to be certified, and you have to pass educational classes and all of that to maintain your status. And, one of the things that's important to us is energy efficiency. Is the home built energy efficient? Are they using, environmentally friendly products? Is it going to be a healthy home for you to live in? Better air quality for your family. And those are all things that are important, again, on resale. A lot of people are buying, just for what they think they need right now. And if you know for a fact that you're not going to be there that long, then you really have to